You know, for a guy who's really not a big fan of horror movies, I have to admit that Sinister was pretty good. Now, before I get into my review of Sinister, I would just like to state right now that to my core, I'm not really much of a big horror fan. Horror has kind of been one of those genres that I'm really not all that interested in because it kind of has failed to interest me. Usually horror today is usually based on creating disturbing CGI creatures with cheap jump scares, actors with terrible dialogue that don't seem like they care about whether they give a good performance or not. However, I'm happy to say that is not the case with Sinister. Now, Sinister stars Ethan Hawke, and he plays a kind of some type of researcher journalist who specializes in solving unsolved mysteries. And when he runs across this specific one, he decides to move his family to this house in this town where a series of murders took place. And after some time, he goes to the attic and he finds these old movie reels. And after watching them, he discovers that a lot of much more terrible things had happened in this house and to this family. And after he's done watching them, that's when stuff kind of goes crazy and you get your really intense horror movie. Now, the one thing I would have to say is that Ethan Hawke is really one of the main reasons to go see this movie, because he's, in my opinion, a very credible actor, and I think he's very wise at picking his part. So if he is going to be in something, especially something as far away from what he usually does in terms of horror, then it must have something special to it. Saying that, this movie actually does what other horror movies fail to do, and that's create an atmosphere that provides tension and suspense. Not, you know, just a bunch of jump scares for no apparent reason. When stuff actually happens, there's so much detail and the world around you, or at least in this movie in particular, that you actually care for the characters. You are actually rooting for them. You do not want them to get hurt because these are good people. And it really helps with good acting. Now, there is some somewhat terrible dialogue, but the fact that these actors actually seem like they care about their performances, it actually makes it work. You know, there's some dialogue that you kind of clinch at, and you're like, why would you say that? But because you actually care about these characters, you let it go, and it actually invests you into the actual story of what exactly is going on, and you trust me, you will freak out if you are a big fan of horror. Now, another thing I will say about this movie is that it does pull some of the standard cliche horror tricks near the end, and I didn't particularly care much for the ending, but I would definitely say that the first half and the second half are definitely by far the strongest. My favorite being the second half, and by the time you get to the end, you will be a little on the edge. You know, you might have some, you might be a little creeped out from what you've just experienced, but this is definitely by far the best horror movie I have seen this year, although I haven't seen many. I think the last one I saw was The Woman in Black, and that was already all the way back in February, and this is definitely better. Anyway, if you're a fan of horror, then definitely go check this out, because you definitely will probably get the best horror experience you have seen in many years. And if you're someone like me who's not a fan of horror, still go check it out, because it'll be something refreshing, or it'll actually show you how to do horror, because the editing, the scripting, the acting, everything makes you care about these characters, and so you're going to care about this movie, which is why I'm proud to give Sinister an 8 out of 10. Definitely go check it out, whether you're a fan of horror or not. And if you like this review, please like, comment down below, and subscribe to help keep track of me and my future movie reviews. And like always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.